right? So then you've got functions of your script, right? Haven't you? Do you all remember Unity a little bit? Has anyone done anything with Unity since? No? That's a shame. But you've got different functions. You've got update function, which is called once per frame, and then in here you do stuff to like move the character. So that's what we're trying to describe in a class diagram. We're trying to describe the things that you can kind of encapsulate into one object, like animal. And so you've got the name at the top, and then you've got the attributes, the thing that it's made up of. And then you've got the things that it can do, the methods and functions in the bottom. I don't think you need to know too much about that. But an abstract class is one where you don't need to implement it, but you extend from it. Like, and then you have different types of properties in your class. Do you remember, as Rob or anyone, I know I've spoken to you about it a little bit. Have you ever come across private, public, or protected, like those kind of access levels? Like if I make something public, what does that mean, Toby? Yeah. Anyone can access that variable, so anyone can change it. What sort of problems are there if anyone can change a variable? What do you think? So if you've got an animal, would you want, what's the difference, Toby? What's the difference between public and protected? Toby, what's the difference? Do you know the difference between public and protected? Okay. Let's look it up. So, because can you look this up? Because I'm not here to learn. I'm not here to learn this. You are, yeah, guys. Like, don't sit there and wait for me to give you the answer. Find out for yourself. Like, what is the difference between these three things? Because when you in a class, you need to describe what properties or functions you want to be public, which things you want to be private, and which things you want to be protected. So even if you don't really understand the answer you get from ChatGPT or whatever, what is the can you describe to me the difference, like, between private and public? Toby, what is the difference? Okay, I thought you were on your phone.
Yeah, I'm on my phone.
Oh, okay. Frank, what's the difference? I need you to concentrate back there, Frank. I'm going to move you because, like, you're just chatting and you're not really listening. So what's the difference, Frank? I don't know. Well, but go on. But so basically, a private, like, if you declare something private, it can only be used in that class. if you declare something that is protected, then it can be used in that class and other subclasses. Or from out, or in the same project. So it's about access levels of variables and functions in your class, and you need to think carefully about like which ones you want to be publicly accessible, which ones you want to be private, i.e. they can't be used outside of that class in which you've defined it. What did you read, Toby? Of which ones? Yeah, but private is just restricted to that class. Yeah. So this is why it's important. Do you remember what inheritance is? What is inheritance in OOP? Like, give me an example of inheritance. And properties, yeah. So this classic example is an animal, right? Now, there are lots of different types of animals, right? There's tortoises, there's otters, there's a loris, a slow loris. I'm not quite sure what that is. But they all have things in common, right? So like they all have names, they all have age, and they all have weight, but they have different things that they don't have. Like an otter has whiskers, where the tortoise doesn't have whiskers, right? So we inherit all the things from that superclass here, and we show that it's inheriting by using this arrow with an empty white head. So so the tortoise inherits everything that's in an animal, but it has things that are slightly different. It's got different abilities, it's got different things it can do, it's got different properties. And that's inheritance. So when you talk about private, public, and protected, like if these variables here are private, name, ID, age, and weight, if they're using the right symbols. So that means it can only be used in that class. Whereas if you make something public, then that means it can be used outside of that class. What sort of what kind of class? So you can start doing this now with me as well, right? If we open up another Visio, so I'm going to create a new one. And we go to class, and I choose UML class. I think that one's enough. Yeah, this should probably do. Or let's see if there's another template. So if we look for a class diagram, and we're going to try and think about what classes we've got in this hairdressing system, and where there might be inheritance, and whether or not the variables are public, private, or protected. So what kind of classes have we got in this hairdressing system? what sort of what objects might you be able to group together into similar functions and properties? Like, what's the most obvious one? Yeah, or like you could call it users, right? You could call that class users. Because we've got 3 types of users, haven't we? We've got a hairdresser, we've got a client, and we've got an admin. What common things have we got between them all? Okay, so we've got a name, and then you're meant to write the actual data type as well. So like name string. So if we look back at here, although yeah, like here they've got like name string ID in. And if I want to add another member, I can just drag that in here. What other things have they got in common? What's that? What, you can rate admins? Yeah, but okay, so this is what I'm imagining. You've got users, and then you've got 3 types of user, right? And that's going to inherit everything from the user class. So if I make that a bit smaller. So we've got admin, hairdressers. Okay, I want to kind of shrink that. I don't know how to shrink it. And then the other one is the client, right? So then we need to show that they're inheriting. So I choose the right association down here, like inheritance, and I attach it to admin, and make sure you got the arrow the right way around. All right, I'll attach it to users, and then I'll attach it to admin. So you can see admin, admin inherits from users. I think that's attached. Hairdressers inherit from users, and then client inherits from users. Right. So like you were saying, Rudy, hairdressers have a star rating, and that might be, what kind of variable type might that be? What do you reckon? Integer. Okay, because it's probably going to be like 1 to 10 or something like that, isn't it? Star rating. I'll zoom in on that. And then we need to decide whether that's going to be like what access levels we're going to give it. I would say that this is a private variable. What do you think? Do you think you should make star rating private, public, or protected? Really? And we want to change it, but we don't want people outside of the class to change it. So yeah, we want to make it. I think we should make it private. Yeah. As a general rule of thumb, right? Someone told me once, you should make all properties and functions private until you've got a really good reason to make them public, you know? So what's the symbol for that? It is dash. So put dash in front of it, and that means it's private. However, we want to be able to update the star rating. So what kind of a function might a hairdresser class have? So what kind of a function might I use to update star rating? What, give me the name of it? Would it be get or set? What get? Okay, well we could have a function called get star rating. for sure. And would I want to make that public or private or protected? Yeah, I'd want to make that one public, so I put a plus there, right? I think so. I've got public is the plus, because that is something I want anyone's allowed to access the rating. That's okay. What about if I want to change the rating of that star rating? What would I call the function? Set, and I make that public, yeah? So set star rating. What about in users? Would I make that public, private, or protected? What do you think, Toby? Would I make name public, private, or protected? Do you think? I'd probably use a getter and a setter to change it, to be honest. Do you think you make it protected? No? You don't know? Well, have a look at it and let me know. What do you think logically? So again, what's this difference between like private and protected? What was that? The main difference, right? If it's private, like star rating, I can only use it with, I can only update and change it in that class. Yeah, it's only able to be used in that class. Whereas if I make name protected, because it's being subclassed, right? I want the other classes to be able to change it, but they're not in the same class. They're subclasses of it, right? So, and how do I indicate that? I'd put a hash next to it. And then I want to have these like, I want to have this public get name, and I want public set name. Yeah. So I still want to allow people to change it, but I want to be able to control how they change it. I don't just want people coming in there and directly changing the data. It's got to be done in a certain way that I've defined, right? Okay, other things you're going to have. You're probably going to have like an address, like, and that's probably going to be a string again, isn't it? They're common things. I don't know, maybe you wouldn't want an address of the admin, would you? But then maybe you want an address of hairdresser. Let's just assume for simplicity, we're recording everybody's address on the system. And then you might have like get address, because they're protected, and set address. What did we say from that diagram that we just drew? See if I can open it up as well. I have two windows at the same time. Yeah. I can switch between them. What did we say from this diagram that that hairdressers can do? Well, give me another function that hairdressers can do that's unique to them. Yeah, so both the client and the hairdresser can make an appointment, can't they? So we'd need to give that function to the hairdresser and the client. So again, I'm going to write here a function that I'll make public, right? Called make appointment. He can also cancel the appointment. And then the hairdresser can public function, cancel appointment. But they can also, what else can hairdressers do? They can update their, what can they update? Sorry? Yeah, update availability. So maybe see if you could add some more functions in that you get from your UML diagram, this thing, and think about which member or which class would that function belong to. Also, can anyone think about, so I'll let you get on with that in a second, but can anyone think of any other classes that we might need in this system? So we've got users, haven't we? Admins, hairdressers, clients. What other obvious kind of grouping of like data and functions can you see here in the system? Can you think of anything? Dates? Who said that? What other things you might need to group together to record? So we've got like the people in the system and the things they can do. Okay, payment. That payment could be another class, but also what about storing? Okay, if I'm making an appointment, don't I need to record that somewhere? Yeah. So maybe it would make sense to have a class that's for just for appointments, right? So when I make an appointment, I've got a specific Shento, are you listening? Okay. So I've got a specific place to record that appointment. So let's make a class for appointments. And what sort of things might you have in an appointment? What kind of properties has an appointment got? Shentai, tell me something. What sort of properties you might have in your appointments class? Like, you know, when you make appointments on your hairdressing app, what sort of things do you have to do? Okay, time, right? So should probably make, I think we should probably make that like private, like, so time, date. Maybe what else do you want to record about an appointment? Huh? Okay, yeah, style. So I would, and what kind of functions are you going to have in appointments? Make appointment. Like, I don't think we need to individually set these things, because when we make an appointment, we're going to set them, right? When we make that appointment, we're going to record the time and the date, but we still need to have those properties. So you might want to be able to get these things. So what kind of functions do we need to have on an appointment? Okay, make appointment, right? We make that public, yeah? Make appointment. And also we want to like we want to get appointment. But how can we know whose appointment it is? What can you think of a way of recording that? Yeah, right. So maybe I need to pass the client's name or their ID in. So we need to have a parameter in here, like client ID, and that'll probably be a string or something. So we've got appointments class now. It's got time, date, and the style you want it in, and maybe extra things as well, like hairdresser. Who's it going to be with? and the client perhaps. And then we've got this, hang on. We've got this make appointment and get appointment, but to make an appointment and get an appointment, we've got to pass in the ID of who is it that we're making it or getting it for. Okay, so what do you think the relationship is between a client and appointments? Do you think does a client inherit appointments? So this is the next thing that I wanted to talk to you about. Just the other relationship that you need to know about is it's a little bit like with, okay, so imagine inheritance is like right? So like a dog is an animal, right? A client is a user. So that's the way we define between inheritance and then something called composition. So it means like in this example, the visitor center has a lobby or the visitor center has a bathroom. But in our example, we've got appointments. So a client has an appointment, right? So that's how we can draw that connection, and we can use this composition one here, and I drag it onto there, and I connect it to the client like that. So you can see, looking at this, a client has an appointment, and in the same way we did it with ERD diagrams, I think you can show. You know, but we had like one-to-many relationships. So like a client, like a customer has many orders, right? You can also show like what that relationship is. So is it one? So what do you think? Does a client have one appointment or many? Let's see if I can ask someone else. Ethan, what is the relationship between client and appointments? Like in terms of like how many they have? Just one. Yeah, one client with multiple or one appointments? Just one appointment. They can only ever make one appointment. No. Yeah, right. Yeah, you wouldn't have a very successful hairdressing salon if only one client could ever make one appointment. So you want to make sure. So maybe another thing we can have in clients, right? We can have like an array of appointments, couldn't we? So we can keep a track of like how many appointments they've made. So I'd make that private, and I'd call it appointments, and I'd make let's call it history of appointments, and I'd make that an array of appointments. So let's set the multiplicity on that as well, if I can. I'm not sure how to do that. Okay, right, guys. So I want you to add. This could be there could be a lot more things in here. See if you can think of some other properties. Maybe a hairdresser has, an admin has, other functions by looking at that case diagram, and maybe you can think of some more classes. So we've got appointments, we've got admin. I did say one for payment. Think about what might be in payment. And this is the whole point of you. 1 second. Where are you going, Frank? So just let me finish what I'm saying. This is the point of UML class diagrams, right? You think about all the processes that are in that system, and then you try and logically group them together in these classes. And it's like you could then go and give that blueprint to a developer with all the other business cases that you've defined before when we use case tools and that. And that developer should be able to look at that specification. They should be able to know exactly what they've got to write in their code, right? And exactly how it should work. Yeah. So try and complete this, and then you could put this into your report as well. But when you put this into your report, I want you to write like a description of each one of those classes, like what the properties are in a class and what the functions are. And you need to describe the kind of relationships that I showed you, i.e. inheritance, and then that composition one. So is a hairdresser is a client, or has a client has an appointment and has many appointments. Yeah? Do you understand what you got to do? Yeah? Okay, you go to the toilet. Yeah. 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 Maybe that. I've just come to you in a second.